Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this is the show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between. And of course, at the end of the video, we talk about the viewer's pick of the week, so in the comments below, let me know your pick of the week for a chance to be featured. Now, before starting this episode, for the next 2 weeks, videos are going to be a bit sporadic. Not sure if I'm gonna have this series on for the next 2 weeks. I might do a topic video. I might, just take a little hiatus for 2 weeks, but then after that, I will be back with my normal programming. Now, let's jump into this week's comics, though. We actually had a pretty big haul with 13 comics, and number 13 for me was Lazarus Planet, issue 1. This is an alpha issue, and this is the start of the dawn of DC. We also get to see that this is a one-shot that goes into other one-shots. So it's not your typical event where it's like, all right, here's 1 through 5. Let's see where this event goes. It seems like it's going to be going into different sections of the DC universe, introducing other new characters or new forms of these characters. Now, also with this issue, we will have an Omega issue. So that means it's kind of ending, and then we'll see how that ends up spinning out. I didn't love this issue. Obviously, it's number 13 on my list. I didn't love how realistic the art was. I actually thought it was too realistic at times. I just didn't really love the facial expressions there. And then also, I just feel like it's just like any other event. Okay, cool. We get to see these heroes come together. They're fighting this big thing, but there's not really a character that brings any emotion or heart to this series to be like, whoa, this is something different. This is something to look forward to for Dawn of DC. It doesn't really feel like an event needs to happen here, especially because we just had an event with Dark Crisis. I'm not really sure if this is trying to buy time or not. I'm just not sure what the purpose of this event is so far, when it comes to transitioning from old DC to this Dawn of DC. Because I thought Dark Crisis did a fine job at that. So overall, I gave this 1.5 stars. I didn't really enjoy this one, so that is number 13 for me. Moving on to another event book, which is Dark Web Miss Marvel issue 2. This is a tie-in to Dark Web, and only 2 issues. I thought this would be a little bit of a longer mini-series, and I love Miss Marvel as a character. I think Kamala's a great character. I loved what G. Willow Wilson did to her supporting cast, and how she just kind of built that world. But I feel like ever since then, other writers, other artists have had a harder time figuring out what to do with the character. And especially because there's not a lot of real estate for the character. There hasn't been an ongoing book in a while. And we have her just hanging out with SpiderMan. And these 2 issues kind of prove that there's just not a lot of real estate to let Miss Marvel grow. Because this issue, honestly, is just mostly a fighting issue. She fights some villains, ties into this more hell version of Marvel, but there's nothing that actually happens to Kamala. There's still no reason why she's in Spider-Man. There's no arc for her, and I've been very disappointed with that with Kamala. And, I think the artwork was okay for this. I still think the coloring's a bit too dark, especially for such a bright character. So overall, giving that one, I believe I gave it 1.5 stars as well. So that's number 12. Moving on to number 11, which is The Ones, issue 3. I was pleasantly surprised with issue 1 of The Ones. I really liked the way the characters were introduced. I felt like I learned a lot about the characters. But ever since then, it's been very similar to what Bendis has been doing in recent years with his writing. It's just kind of saying, okay, this is what I want to tell with these characters, even if it doesn't narratively make sense or is cohesive. And I feel like that really happened here. We get a lot of the demon character, but I wanted more from the team. I wanted more about their emotional journey as well. And I just feel like too much is thrown at once where it just doesn't flow for me. I do like the art for this book. I like the cartoony nature. I even really like the premise of this book, which is why I stuck around with it. But I feel like this issue is now making me teeter on, okay, should I get the next issue or not? Is this going to kind of continue the route of what Bendis usually does with his books, compared to what I thought he did very successfully with issue 1. So overall, giving that 2 stars, and that is number 11. Moving on to number 10, which is Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 2. I love Miles as a character. Kind of goes back to the Miss Marvel thing where I just feel like they don't know what to do with him. And there's no particular voice that we have for Miles right now. I see a very similar problem with this new run in general where the artwork is drop dead gorgeous. I love the artwork for this book, which is why I gave issue 2 a shot. But the actual arcs, there just doesn't feel to be a new voice, it feels like anything else we've been getting for the past 30, 40 issues, which I wasn't very impressed with because it just kind of felt like it was going through the motions without really giving us some bangers for Miles Morales like I think he deserves. So yeah, this issue felt like it was going through the motions. I wasn't a huge fan, and it didn't really suck me in to say I need to get this next issue or I need to get more of this book. So overall, giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 10. Moving on to number 9, a book that has a somewhat of a similar problem, but it's Monica Rambeau, Photon. With this issue, I do think it has a little bit more of a direction because we haven't seen Monica at all as of recent years, especially in her own series. So, anything you do is kind of fresh with the character. But I will also say, I don't know if it was really new reader friendly. So the character that shows up in the end is like, oh, I'm Monica's husband. I'm like, okay, who are you? And a lot of it relies on you knowing a lot about Monica. And I feel like this is a shot to get people interested in the character, especially after she showed up in WandaVision, the movies she's going to show up in. I thought this was a better opportunity to have a jumping on point where I just don't think that happened here. But the reason why I think it's similar to Miles is that the artwork is really good for this book. It's a very clean book. But I just didn't feel like I was able to like bite my teeth into it, sink my teeth into it. So overall, giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Daredevil, issue 7. I will say I expected something else with this book. I didn't expect it to be a setup issue. I thought it was gonna be Punisher versus Daredevil, especially when you open up the book where you get this 2-page information about what's been going on in Punisher, which I appreciate. I've been loving Punisher, but I want more people to love Punisher. So this is a great opportunity to actually cross over the 2 series. And then after that, there's very point A, point B storyline where we get to see what's going on with the island, the people on the island, and how that affects Daredevil's I would say Daredevil's view on what's going on in New York and vice versa. The people of New York seeing what Daredevil's doing, especially with, kind of the gray morality that's been going on throughout this series. And then by the end, he ends up fighting Punisher because of one of the characters that's to do with his island or on his team. And I was like, okay, that's interesting, but it doesn't, again, sink my teeth into it, be like, whoa, I am stoked for this Punisher and Daredevil verse match, where I think Punisher kind of has done a little better of a job with that. So overall, 3 stars. I thought it was forgettable. This series has been a lot of ups and downs where some issues are so good, and then there's like 4 issues where it kind of flatlines, and this was one of those flatline issues. But hopefully the next issue where we actually get to see Punisher versus Daredevil will pick things up a little bit. And also I like the art. I think it's very consistent. I think it's a different artist than we usually get to, so it's very consistent with the previous artists we've had. Actually, there's 2 artists, so there you go, and I didn't really see the difference. So I think they made it very cohesive in this issue. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 9, I believe? That was number 8. So we're moving on to number 7, which is The Amazing Spider-Man, issue 17, which is the title of this video, is that there's a new character that showed up in this issue called, let's hear it, Wreck Rap. So it's pretty much the bizarro version of Spider-Man. Now, what is going on in this issue is that Spider-Man is in limbo, because for some reason that's what Dark Web's about, is all these people are going to limbo, but they don't actually get to meet with each other. They're all going through their own thing. Now, Spider-Man is in the mix of the Daily Bugle, so you have Robbie, you have J. Jonah Jameson, and they're all, well, at least Spider-Man is trying to figure out how to get out of here. And that's most of the issue. Nothing's really happening. And then you get to see this new character who, is he Venom-like? Is he Bizarro-like? I don't know. Is he gonna be comedic like Deadpool? Maybe. That's kind of the tone I got. And I'm like, oh man, we're just introducing a new character. And we already have a lot of new characters that have been introduced, even, or at least new titles for characters. We have Chasm, we have Queen Goblin, and now we have another new character. I'm like, it just kind of came out of left field for me. I like the design for the most part, but I'm a little scared that he's just going to be this comedic character while they try to get out of hell. So I just haven't been pleased with what's been going on in this arc so far. It just doesn't really feel like there's a lot going on. Even this issue where I felt like it was more Peter driven, it was less action driven than the last issue. There's just not a lot of meat. I don't really know what this story is about. I don't know what they're trying to progress and what's the big shocking moment. Why do we need an event for this? So overall, I gave it 3 stars because I do like the art a lot for this book. I think it works really well. I even like the character design for the last character, but I'm not really feeling the story right now. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, and that is Black Cloak, issue 1. So this is a Substack book. Finally, it's making its appearance in the direct market through Image Comics. Now, this is actually a really long one, and I took my time to read this. It was one of the first books I read because it was longer. And I actually read it twice. I feel like I got a lot out of it in the second round of reading it, because there is a lot of information. It's very saga-esque, which it's funny. I was looking at the description just to see like how Solicits wrote it, and I was like, before I even look at the Solicits, I'm like, this reminds me a lot of Saga, and then the description says it's kind of like Saga. So I'm glad I was on the money with that one. But yeah, it is very Saga-esque in the regards of there's a lot of worlds here, but it really does center on character. And there's a lot of mystery actually with this too, because it's a detective story as well, where we get to see these 2 characters. They're Black Cloaks who seem like they are have a higher status than people, or at least a mysterious higher status. And one of the characters was related to royalty in some way. We don't really know how. And her ex-fiance dies, and he's a prince of this city, the only city that exists anymore. So you get a lot of meat on the bones with this issue, and a lot of the information unravels throughout the issue, which I liked. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm very curious about this character, about, who she is and how she's related to all these things. And I'm glad it's not all revealed in this issue. But it does take a little while to get through. Again, it's long. I don't know if I would have wanted, I think it's like a 40-page book. It might be even longer. It might be 60 pages. Like, I kind of wish it was the standard 22 pages to kind of reveal things in that regard. And also the art, it's very stylized. It's a very particular style. Kind of reminds me of Ponyo, if you've ever seen that movie. It's very simple, the art, and it took me a while to get used to. I don't know if it's my favorite style, especially for a book like this that has such to do with world building, but it does make it seem different than Saga and make it feel different than other comics, which is good. So overall, giving it 3.5 stars. It definitely gave me enough for issue 2, but I don't know if I was over the moon for it either. So that's number 6 for me. Moving on to number 5, which is Crashing, issue 5, and this is the last issue of this mini-series. I feel like it's been very under the radar. I very much recommend it. It's a story about addiction, and this is the end part of that, where this character has kind of ruined her life because of her addiction. She has lied a lot, and she has to go through that, and this is a world with superpowers as well, and what I liked about the ending, it shows that, addiction, there is no ending to it. You just continue to deal, and you continue to try to better yourself, and I really like that, and I feel like it hit a lot of its themes here. It shows that her life wasn't perfect at the end, but she was still able to bring some assembly of her new life. So overall, really solid issue. 4 stars. I think from beginning, middle, and end, this is just such a solid series and a really good human story. So that's number 5 on my list, and that is I gave that 4 stars. So let's move on to number 4, which is Dark Web, Mary Jane, and Black Cat. This, when you compare it to the other Dark Web stories I was talking about, where in Miss Marvel, I didn't really feel like there was a reason for her to be in limbo. I didn't really know what was the point of the story. Like, what was the driving force for her character? And then same thing for SpiderMan. It's like, okay, well, where is this going? I feel like this did a really good job at using limbo as a tool to tell a character story, which is why this is so much higher. And also, I love Mary Jane and Black Cat, but their dynamic is so pure. And obviously, having Jen McKay, who's written so much Black Cat, is a big reason why this is so successful. Where you really get and I just hit my microphone, but you really get to see what you get to see that she's had a lived life. And that really plays off of Mary Jane, who has had a life that has not been able to be revealed in SpiderMan, where you get little tidbits of. So you get, okay, she has powers, she was gone for 6 months, but maybe she wasn't. And you actually get some more information in this issue, again, than the actual main story. And I just enjoyed their dynamic, even though this issue really is just to get to the MacGuffin. It's like, okay, let's get this item. In between all that, there's actual character building between these characters that makes it a really solid issue and makes it feel like this event is leading towards something, or at least leading towards something with their friendship. So overall, giving that 4 stars. I really liked it. The art is really solid for this book as well, and I think this is the best thing next to Gold Goblin that has come out of Dark Web thus far. That's number 4 for me. Moving on to number 3, a book has not been on my pull list for a while, but just because I was starting a new event, I did get it, and I was pleasantly surprised, and that is The Flash, issue 790. Now, I've been hearing great things about The Flash. I just hadn't jumped on board. But the 1 Minute War, that's interesting. I know Superman did it like 15 years ago, but I'm like, all right, we've never seen it with Flash. I like the Flash family. What's this about? And I just thought the pacing for this was so well done. We get to see Wally, kind of living his life, and then you get to see all the different Flashes living their lives. And you get to see there's some good character building there too, where we get to see Wally talk about his family and where he's at there. We get to see Wallace and Bart kind of clash heads. We get to see Iris want to maybe marry Barry Allen. So there's all these little tidbits that's going on. You get Jesse Quick, you get Jay Garrick, and things stop. And the only people that see what's happening are the Flashes, and you get to see it from all different perspectives, and then you have this big cliffhanger that Iris has died, and you're like, whoa, that's how you do an event. You build your characters, you show your cast, you show why this event's important, then you get the exciting moment. The exciting moment was great, and then in the end, you're like, whoa, cliffhanger, I want the next issue. This seems like a really great story. I just think everything they did here, they aced it. There were times where the artwork, I think, could have been a little stronger, but, that's pretty much my only nitpick for this issue. Again, I was pleasantly surprised, and it definitely gave me enough to want to read issue 2. So overall, giving that 4.5 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Dark Ride, issue 4. I love this book. I just love how much happens in this book in every issue. Like, if you look at this series from issue 1 to issue 4, it's a very different series. We thought this little boy is going to be a main character of the book, and now he's dead. And this issue deals with that. We get to see the secrets and the curtain kind of pull back, where the kid maybe has committed suicide, and then this YouTuber character has been lurking around, and he dies because of the sister, who might be more evil than you think, and more involved in the evilness of this park. And then, you also don't really know who the main character of this book is, which I really like. You might consider the brother to be the main character, because you've been getting a lot of focal point on him. But you're like, okay, but how about, is it the sister of the boy who died? Like, there's a lot of interesting players. There's a lot of movement in this issue, and a lot of interesting movement where you're just like, what is this world? And you just keep getting consumed by it while building these characters up really well. So, and the artwork works so well here. It's the same creative team as Birthright. They are a very cohesive team here. So overall, giving that 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1, one of my favorite books on stands, and that is Specs, issue 3. Very upset to see, though, this is the penultimate issue, just for the sake of, I don't want this series to end. Yeah, this is another wonderful issue of Specs. I really think this is a great build-up to whatever finale they're trying to do, because we get to see Teddy has been taken to jail because of racism, and this detective just being a horrible person. And then on the other side, we get to see our other main character. He's trying to deal with, how do I save my friend, and what are these glasses? Maybe these glasses can help. And what's really interesting about this issue is you actually dig into the mythology. Of course, they're not the first people use these glasses, and how it's affected other people, and every single time they've died. So now our main character knows, like, okay, that could happen, but I love my friend, and I really want to do something for him, and he doesn't deserve this, so I'm still going to use this power. And by the end, they're together. What does that mean for their friendship? What does this mean for our main character who romantically likes this person? And what will the town end up doing? Everything is so up in the air in such a great way where you're like, whoa, I can't wait for this finale. And it's such a great penultimate penultimate issue. It just kind of perfectly builds up to this moment. So yeah, love this book. Definitely go check it out. The art is so good. It's haunting, but it still kind of has this brightness to that way it's not too dark and muddy. It just kind of has the perfect balance. So overall, giving that 4.5 stars, and that is my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of your comics. And this week's viewers' pick of the week was Punchline. And here are some comments about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.